The sun beat down mercilessly on the small frontier town of Dust Creek, painting the world in hues of gold and fire. The air shimmered with heat, dust swirling through the main street like restless ghosts. Horses whinnied from their posts, wagons rattled down rutted lanes, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barked in lazy protest at the day's swelter. But the loudest sound, the one that drew every rancher, drifter, outlaw, and farmer for miles, was the auctioneer's booming call from the center of town. "Step right up! Best horseflesh this side of the Rockies!" Strong stallions, nimble mares, and more endurance than a steam engine on fresh coal. Men in wide-brimmed hats pressed closer, silver coins and dollar bills clutched in their calloused hands. Dust Creek only saw horse auctions twice a year, and today's sale was the biggest yet. At the edge of the crowd, a tall figure stood slightly apart from the rest, arms crossed, eyes shaded beneath the brim of a weather-beaten hat. His name was Cole Braddock, a rancher whose reputation stretched across the frontier. Folks whispered that he'd tamed more wild Mustangs than any other man in Texas territory. Broad-shouldered, lean, with a quiet intensity in his blue-gray eyes, Cole carried the kind of silence that made others step aside without realizing why. Cole hadn't come for company. He hadn't even come for sport. He needed a horse, one strong enough to carry him across rough country through riverbeds and against storms that could swallow a man whole. Running cattle on the edge of Comanche lands and outlaw trails wasn't for the faint of heart. A horse meant survival. The auctioneer clapped his hands. "Bring up the next one." A gate creaked open, and a black stallion snorted defiantly as two men tugged its reins. Muscles rippled beneath its sleek hide, eyes flashing wild. The crowd murmured in approval. Cole studied it, weighing its worth, but something else tugged at his attention. Something just beyond the pen. A figure stepped forward, not a horse but a woman. The crowd stilled, murmurs cutting sharp like knives. She was young, no more than 21, with sun-darkened skin, hair the color of midnight spilling down her back, and a dress so worn it barely held together. Chains clinked softly at her wrists. Her chin was lifted, though, proud as a queen, eyes burning with defiance. The auctioneer cleared his throat a little too loudly. "Gentlemen, settle down. This here's a special case." Cole's jaw tightened. He'd seen plenty in his years, but never had he watched a woman dragged onto an auction block alongside beasts of burden. "This girl," the auctioneer barked, "was found hitching rides with horse thieves up near Red Mesa. Sheriff says she's got no home, no folk, and no way to pay her fine, so the county's decided she'll work off her debt. What better place than on a ranch? Strongback knows her way with animals." The girl spat at his boots, drawing laughter and jeers. "I ain't working for no man," she snapped, voice cutting through the air like a whip. The auctioneer's face reddened, but the crowd howled with amusement. Cole didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on her. Something in the steel of her voice, in the fire that refused to bend, stirred something deep in his chest. The auctioneer shrugged, recovering his rhythm. "Well, debts are debts. Who'll start the bid?" $5. A hand shot up. 5. Another voice. 7, 8, 10. The girl's eyes widened, horror replacing her anger as men bid louder, some chuckling under their breath at the thought of owning her labor. Cole's hand twitched at his side. He hadn't planned on this. He'd come for a horse, plain and simple, but as he watched her glare at every bidder with that same fierce defiance, he felt something shift. She wasn't beaten. Not yet. The auctioneer pointed across the crowd. "We're at $15. Can I hear 20? A heavy-set rancher with a crooked grin raised his hand. 20, she'll do fine in my kitchen." The girl stiffened, shaking her head. Her gaze darted across the crowd, desperate now, and then her eyes locked with Cole's. For the first time her voice faltered, not in weakness but in plea. "Don't buy the horse," she said, her voice steady yet trembling at the edges. "Buy me, rancher, and I'll be yours forever." The words slammed into Cole harder than a bullet. The crowd erupted, some laughing, some whistling, others jeering at the scandal. But Cole didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. He just held her gaze. The auctioneer, sensing opportunity, grinned wide. "Well now, seems the lady herself has spoken. $20 to the man in the back. Can I hear 25? Cole's hand rose. 50. Gasps rippled through the crowd. That was more than most horses sold for. The heavy-set rancher scowled. 60. Cole didn't flinch. 100. The crowd went silent. Even the auctioneer stumbled over his words, nearly dropping his gavel. 100. Any other bids? No one spoke. The gavel slammed down. "Sold. To Mr. Cole Braddock." The girl exhaled sharply, relief and fear warring in her expression. Chains clinked as she was led off the block, straight toward the man who had just changed the course of her life. Cole said nothing as the deputy thrust the end of the chain into his hand. The metal felt wrong, heavy. He didn't like the way she was tethered, like a beast. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. She lifted her chin again, fire returning to her eyes. "Mariah." Cole nodded once. "Mariah, you're coming with me?" And with that, he turned from the crowd, leading her away as whispers followed them through the dusty streets of Dust Creek. The prairie stretched endless and unforgiving beneath the blazing sun, a sea of gold and rust broken only by the silhouette of mountains far to the west. Cole Braddock rode ahead on his bay stallion, the reins loose in his steady hands, his broad back straight as a pine. Beside him, bound lightly with rope across her wrists, rode Mariah on a chestnut mare he'd bought for her at the livery. It had been 3 days since the auction at Dust Creek, 3 days of silence broken only by the cry of hawks and the whisper of the wind across the tall grass. Mariah hadn't spoken much, though her dark eyes missed nothing. She studied the land, the man beside her, the weight of the rope at her wrists. Finally, as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky with streaks of crimson, she spoke. "You didn't buy me for labor." Her voice was quiet but steady. Cole didn't turn his head. "No." "Then why?" The question hung between them, sharp as a knife. Cole slowed his horse, pulling up near a clump of cottonwoods by a stream. He dismounted, tying the reins. "Because you asked me to," he said simply. "And because I don't abide men treating women like cattle." Mariah slid down from her saddle, her boots hitting the earth. She stood there, arms crossed over her chest. "That's it? You paid $100 just because you don't like the way they treated me?" Cole met her gaze, calm as always. "That's it?" Mariah shook her head, almost laughing in disbelief. "Either you're the biggest fool west of the Mississippi, or the only man with a soul." Cole untied the rope from her wrists and tossed it aside. "You're free now. Stay or leave. Makes no difference to me." Her eyes widened. She rubbed her sore wrists, staring at the discarded rope, then back at him. "You're letting me go. Wasn't mine to keep," Cole said, crouching by the stream to splash water on his face. Mariah stood frozen, torn between instinct and gratitude. Every man she'd ever known had wanted something. Her hands for work, her silence, her body. But this one was different. Still, freedom wasn't simple. She had nowhere to go, no family, no coin. The thought of wandering the frontier alone made her throat tighten. "Where are you headed?" she asked at last. Cole glanced over his shoulder. "Braddock Ranch, 50 miles north. Land's rough, cattle rougher. Needs hands to keep it alive." Mariah hesitated. "You offering me work?" Cole rose, wiping his face with a kerchief. "I'm offering you a place to stay. Work if you want. Leave when you choose." Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. She should run. She'd promised herself long ago never to belong to another man's world. And yet something in his quiet honesty pulled at her. "I'll come," she said finally, her voice softer now. "But not because you own me. Because I choose it." Cole nodded once, as if that settled it. They rode on, the night settling cool and sharp around them. A campfire crackled bright, sending sparks into the starlit sky. Cole brewed coffee in a blackened pot while Mariah sat cross-legged across from him, her face lit by the flames. For the first time she spoke of herself, of being born to Mexican traders, her family slaughtered by outlaws near the border when she was a girl, of drifting from camp to camp, doing whatever she had to in order to survive, of the horse thieves who'd taken her in, only to abandon her when the law caught up. "I've been passed around my whole life," she said bitterly, "like a coin in a gambler's hand. When I saw you at that auction, I don't know why, but I thought maybe you were different." Cole's gaze was steady on the fire. "Different don't always mean better. But you didn't look at me the way they did," she pressed. "Like I was property? Like I was cheap?" Cole finally met her eyes, and the weight of his silence told her everything. He hadn't bought her to own her. He'd bought her to save her. The fire crackled louder, the night stretching deep, and for the first time in years, Mariah felt something she thought she'd lost forever. Hope. Morning came with trouble. The sound of hoofbeats woke Cole before dawn. He sat up, hand already on the revolver at his hip, listening. Mariah stirred beside the fire, eyes wide. From the ridge above, 5 riders appeared, silhouettes black against the rising sun. They descended fast, rifles slung, faces half hidden under dusters and scarves. Cole's jaw tightened. He knew their kind. Outlaws, likely from the Red Mesa gang. Men who didn't care if they took cattle, horses, or lives. The leader pulled up his horse, a scarred man with a crooked grin. Well, if it ain't Cole Braddock. Heard you were in town throwing money around. $100 for a slip of a girl, was it? Mighty generous." Mariah stiffened, inching closer to Cole. Cole rose slowly, revolver loose but ready in his hand. "You boys ride on? Ain't nothing for you here." The outlaw laughed, his men joining in. "Oh, I reckon there's something. That girl, for one. Sheriff said she was county property. You think we didn't have eyes at that auction? She was worth more'n 100 to us." Mariah's blood ran cold. Cole's eyes narrowed. "She's under my protection now." The scared man sneered. "Then you'll die with her."